don't really mess with that too much. At least the ones I had, they were not having any of that. A little too warm, so it was just kind of clashing with everything else I was doing.
So it says live, but we're not live. It's just recording, so we know, because Jake wants to go ahead and just get to decent conversation.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man.
Oh, look at those boots.
Boy.
Some duck boots.
Yeah, boy. Keep my feet warm.
They look like some of those shoes that Kanye West made.
Oh, God.
Those weird-looking Crocs.
Don't even say it like that.
Football Croc things.
Don't even say Kanye West name, or I won't even wear these things anymore.
It's called fashion. Look it up.
No, I got these for fishing in the winter, man. We're going to be hitting the river pretty hard here soon. And
are you going to kick it?
Huh?
Are you kicking it?
No, I'm not kicking it. I just want to keep my feet warm. These things are waterproof. Come on now.
All right. Okay.
And they're fashionable.
This is episode 179 of the Herbetic Culture Podcast. I'm Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics.
And I'm Jacob Bratz with Longleaf Reptilia.
This episode is brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Jake's been looking around at some stuff, eyeballing some things.
Yeah, I think I finally got it. Finally got narrowed out.
A game plan?
Yeah, for this year's sponsor pickup. I'm pretty freaking stoked. But yeah, I think I got it. I think I got it all lined out, Cool. But, pretty freaking excited.
If you are interested in finding a rack or cage that cannot be beat on the quality front,
definitely not.
Go check it out. BlackBoxCages.com, Facebook and Instagram as well at BlackBoxCages. They are going to be doing a giveaway soon. It's a big one, so I'm not going to divulge too much. If you go to their Instagram or their Facebook page and you follow them, you will see what's going on. But this giveaway isn't going to be like a little tiny.
It's not going to be
critter keeper. Yeah. Like this is going to be it's big.
It's not some 12 by 12 by 12 little box that you can only keep a tiny little gecko in. This is going to be a Mac Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely don't want to miss that. It's an opportunity of a lifetime.
I don't know when they're actually planning to announce it. I was just told it's happening.
They announced the giveaway, but they didn't say what it was yet.
Yes. The actual details and stuff. So check them out. And then check out Steve Snaketuary and his Venom Hot Sauce.
Yes.
It seems like it's making its rounds. I've seen some people buying it and trying it and really liking it. So.
I saw our boy, old Chris Montross, bought him the whole set, and he was loving it. So, that says something right there. The man, not a myth.
I saw Crutchfield bought him a set.
Did he?
Enjoy it. Yeah.
Crutchfield, really?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. There you go, man.
So, clearly, everyone who has it seems to enjoy it. So you need to get yourself set. Go to stevesnaketuary.com. If you do that, you're helping support Steve with all the different stuff he's doing: public education, relocation, rehabilitation, rescues, rehoming. He's doing a lot of stuff on top of a full-time gig. So
all the goods, and he's a first responder. So can't complain about that. He's a fireman. They're right there in Louisiana.
All around.
Yeah.
Good deal.
He's the man. Not a myth, but a legend.
This episode has been a long time coming.
Yes,
because I've been trying to get this guy on the other side of Bratz there on for a hot minute. But schedules are constantly the struggle.
Yeah. Ever changing.
Yeah. So this week we're joined by Mr. Nick Bottini of
Cold Blooded Earth. For having me on.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on. Smitty told me we were having you on. Yeah, I was like, nice. This could be awesome.
The fellow South Carolinian.
Yeah. Great state in the world.
And it has been a long time coming. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man. We're excited to have you.
Some Short-Taileds, Bloods. Am I missing one? Is it just Short-Taileds and Bloods?
Yeah. Well, you have Borneo short-tail pythons, Sumatran short-tail pythons, and blood pythons.
Yeah, I was about to say you're thinking 3 because 2 types of short tails, but
right.
Yeah.
Ironically, they both have short tails. Yeah, we haven't had sort of like a dedicated episode to this group. I think since we had Matt Minatola on some years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Unless April Justine.
Yeah, April was
I don't know
on.
which one came first.
No, Matt.
I think it was Matt.
Matt definitely came first. April was definitely blood focused, but she also keeps a lot of other stuff. Like she's pretty heavily into carpets as well.
We figured we were overdue, and I mean,
absolutely.
What better person than the guy with some of the nicest stuff,
dude?
As far as morphs and whatnot go, like I'm gonna go ahead and say probably on the planet.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I actually learned, fun fact, I actually learned about blood morphs from looking at your page. And like,
oh really?
Going through all the different stuff. Like I used your website as like my platform for learning some of the morphs on these things, many moons ago.
Right. Because there's not a ton of information out there, so I try to put out as much as I can. I don't, really hide that much or stay quiet about much. What I put out there is what's in, behind me here. So
Yeah. So, I mean, getting into the, we give people the option to do the Cliff Notes version or the deep dive into how they got into reptiles. If you even want to touch on that at all, it's up to you.
We can do the Cliff Note version if you'd like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just like everybody else, started keeping snakes when I was young, caught my first snake when I was, 3 or 4 years old. And then it just grew from there. Spent about 8 years in the zoo business as a herpetologist. And then I went full-time as a reptile breeder, predominantly blood pythons about 5 years ago. I made the switch from keeping a lot of different species. I had Timor pythons, olive pythons, bolins, chondros. I kept a lot of different stuff, scrub pythons. About 11 years ago, I was like, I'm just going to focus. And blood pythons and short-tail pythons is where my focus has been since then.
So why those in particular? If you've kept all that stuff, what made you go? Blood and short-tail
just their size. That's a great size snake. They come in a ton of different colors and patterns. I find them to be very interesting to keep. I like the way they feel. You get a big snake feel in a smaller package. And there weren't a lot of people working with them at the time, and they had a bad rap from 20-year-old imports. And so I just I decided to really focus down on that, because if you're going to do this as a business, it's great to have 1.1 of all kinds of different stuff or 1.2 of this and that, but doing it as a business, you want to be able to increase your odds of production a little bit more. If you had 1.1 pair of olive pythons and they didn't go, well, you're stuck. So like Ryan Young does it. He's unbelievable. The fact that he can do that is pretty amazing. But I really wanted to focus and streamline my projects and dedicate the space that I had available to the technically 3 different species.
Nice.
I had no idea you were doing it full time.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah, for about 5 years now.
That's fantastic, man. I feel like that's half the people that listen to this podcast and listen to Reptile Podcast. I feel like that's kind of the dream. For me, it's like the retirement dream. When I retire from my full-time job, that's what I get to do when I'm retired. But, the fact that you can do it at for 5 years running now and, at a good, young, healthy age.
Clearly it's working.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, shit.
Yeah, it's like any business or any job. It has its pluses and minuses for sure, but I wouldn't trade it. I get to pick my schedule and that kind of thing, and just and do things how I want, and I really like being able to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm very blessed to be able to do this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have anybody that I'll say works for you, anything like that, or is it just you?
It's just me.
Nice. It's even better, man. Don't have to count on anybody else.
Or crazy, but
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
for
always
sure, man.
been, especially with the full-time thing, like the one thing that I always struggle to sort of wrap my head around is just figuring out the logistics of the whole thing in terms of like knowing, because I mean it is a business, so you have to know, like, have a clear idea of the financials and timelines of things. Like, to me, figuring all that out in a job / industry that is very much seasonal, like how hard was that in the
That was the
beginning?
hardest thing to get used to. Was this the way, the ups and downs.
Like the irregular flow of money in and money out and stuff like that.
Right. You know, um, it's not so much what you're doing week over week or month over month. It's like, 3 months at a time. You could have 3 really good months and then, 4 or 5 months that are super slow. So, the first year I was doing this full time, that took me a little while to get used to. I was definitely a little nervous. When things started to slow down, like this time of year, they always slow down, from October until, February, it's slow. And it's always been that way for me. But when I decided to do it full time, you realize it a lot more. You're like, oh, wow, it really does slow down. And this
Yeah,
is
but you can
impacting
also
things.
prepare for it better as a
Right.
result.
Right. Especially going into the second year, right?
Mhm.
Your first year is a lot of trial and error, but as you get comfortable in that role and your position and what sales look like year over year, that second year gets better, third year. And now I'm pretty comfortable with it.
I guess it's just nerve-wracking when you have so many things, like so many variables, like you were saying, like you get a pair of something that you were expecting / planning on going and producing and it doesn't happen. Now it's like, that's a pretty big speed bump. But I also assume you probably have a certain threshold of like the number of animals you want to have and produce, and you kind of have an idea of where you want to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of focusing was to be able to mitigate some of the, now what? If you didn't have a pair go, because if you have a backup male, or you can, you're able to pivot a little bit easier when you have a focus collection than you would if you had 1.1 of something.
Yeah.
I keep my pairings every year, 10 pairings to 12 pairings. So I'm producing 150 snakes, give or say, a year. I don't do it's not a big operation by any stretch. I focus on quality and pushing my projects to the next level.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what kind of you said that, but that's what takes you to the next level. It's like focusing that quality and really putting the time and effort into 150 snakes is nothing to laugh at. That's still a good amount of snakes. I couldn't imagine producing 150 snakes right now. But as far as a full-time breeder aspect, yeah, that might sound like a small amount. But if you're putting all the effort into this one thing, you can become sort of the master of that, and then that's what you're known for, and then you really just build off of that. You can produce some amazing animals once you put that focus in.
Yeah, that's always been the goal. Anybody can put 2 snakes together to breed them.
Right.
That's not what I'm trying to do here. With doing numbers like that, I hold back quite a few animals myself, so I'm always pairing with the mentality of I want the offspring to be better looking than the parents.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I approach every season going forward. Whether it's a specific morph or and Borneos or whatever it ends up being. That's always the first thing that I move forward with those projects is, can I make these better? And then you build from there.
Yeah, it's selective breeding, man. That's what I love more than anything. I'm not really a morph guy, as most people already know. But the selective breeding,
comes to the stuff that he's producing.
Yo, yeah, man. Good God. Like I said, I had a short period with bloods, and I started getting into a few things. But the stuff I loved the most was like the GoldenEye and 007 stuff. And dude, your GoldenEyes and 007s are just freaking ridiculous, dude. I mean, those things are out of this
Where-
world.
Biggest question I have with those is where do those names come from? Like, is there a particular story behind that, or is it just someone was like, yeah, it's golden?
You ever heard of James Bond?
I miss my N64, so I'm going to name this.
So the GoldenEye was named by Dave and Tracy at VPI, and it's the snakes do have a golden eye. So as the 007 was produced, they just went along with that theme,
right?
And so that's where that came from, and it stayed with that theme.
It's actually cool as hell.
Yeah, no,
Dave Barker plays N64.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They are fantastic, man.
As far as choosing, this is something I always like to pick people's brain about too, is like choosing holdbacks. I mean, I'm not super hip to Short-Tails and Bloods in terms of like outside of the sort of the general information. But I mean, do they go through a serious color change or anything from neonates to adults, or do you pretty much know what you're going to get from the gate?
They do change a lot. Unlike some snakes that are, they hatch, they shed, and that's the best they look, and then they kind of start to brown out or change. Blood pythons are the opposite. So the day they hatch often is the worst they look. They get 3 or 4 years, and they really start coming into their own. So there is some. You do want.
Uh-oh. Weren't you saying something the other day about that?
Nick, you broke out a little bit. You there?
Yep.
Yep.
Am I here?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that.
You back. No, you're good.
Yeah, so lineage is really important with these guys. So, if you go to a breeder and you're looking for a blood python, ask to see the parent pictures. Because that's going to give you a really good idea, especially if you can go back even farther. But that's going to give you a really good idea of what to expect as that animal matures. And it's not, 100%, or they're not all going to be the same, but that'll really help you, gauge what you're looking for. And so when I pick holdback stuff, it's, over time, I can see a lot more in that baby snake, than I could 5 years ago. It's like my eyes trained for it a little bit better, and I know what I'm looking for.
Right.
And I've always held back stuff that I like. It might not be what you would like, Justin. Or, it's always, for me, it's personal preference. And I tell people that when I go to get them, and they'll ask me, oh, which one would you get? Well, it doesn't matter because you're going to be cleaning it, taking care of it. So which one do you like? Go with what you like.
You tell me which one of these adults you like the most, and then I can help you from there. Yeah.
Right. And I post all my adult pictures on my website so people have an idea of what they're looking at, and then in my ads as well. So, because it's an important thing to do, with the GoldenEye project, for example. I've been working with GoldenEyes for about 10 years, and I still think there's room for improvement.
Absolutely.
And where did those, so if those came from the Barkers, did those pop up out of some imported animals, or was that something that they noticed in some other animals they got that, maybe some sort of het marker or something that they investigated?
No, those were imported animals. I believe that they were the first one that came into the country was an adult.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Nice. So with like the whole color change thing, does it vary within morphs? Because the little I know about bloods, so I had an albino for a while, and I know specifically your albinos, they look like two different snakes from baby to adult. Like I've seen some that are just kind of like, they're kind of orange as babies and they're really pretty. But as an adult, they're this red and white animal that looks absolutely insane. So like with the morphs, does it vary a lot within the morphs, or there's some that don't change as much, versus some like albinos that change from literally look like two different snakes?
Yeah, even in the morph thing, they change a ton. I'm trying to get a lot more color even into things like 007s, which are, for the most part, a white snake, right? Mm-hmm. So I've started to work more pattern into them. So they're getting a lot more black dotting and then color in the neck, pinks and oranges. So you can, you can definitely get the colors into the morphs too. Even the white, basically the white snakes over time. But with golden eyes, batiks, those they all, if the pairing was done well, will get better.
Nice.
I got to show off some of these things and pull up the website.
Yeah, Justin always likes to pull up the website and see what we're working with.
Cool.
See, like, I don't know. I'd like to go the opposite way. Like, I like the really dark Sumatran.
Yeah.
I like the. Let me see. Share.
I think it's all about personal preferences, though. Like some people like more of the earth tones, like myself, and some people more like the more reds and whites and things like that. But I think that's the cool thing about this whole genus in general is there's a flavor for everybody. Whether you like the dark animals, the bright animals, bloods have it.
Well, it's surprising too, because
bloods and short tails.
You would think that these retaining as much black as they do, like you'd think they'd brown out much more as they get older, just given the.
Yeah, I mean that's the result of again probably 15 years of selective breeding. That animal came for Kara Norris at bloodpythons.com, and she's put a lot of work into those really dark Sumatrans to keep them that black.
Very nice.
And so that's your T negative albino, there's T positive albino within blood pythons.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also different looks within your albino, and like you were saying, there is something for everybody, and that's just another reason why I picked them to work with, because I mean
right, no matter what you like, you'll find something within bloods, whether you like dark colors, bright colors, whatever it is. Yeah, browns, reds, tans, blacks. It's all there. Whites, it's all there.
Yeah, and it's as far as a market goes, it's really. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're just getting started. We haven't seen anything yet. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, and that's something I was going to ask too. Is like as far as morphs go.
Jesus,
I mean. Yeah, like I don't know how
freaking ridiculous,
sort of far
man.
into the whole rabbit hole we are with these, and if it's kind of like Popwins, where it's like, yeah, we have new stuff coming out, but we still haven't even come close to sort of the full potential with those.
Yeah, it's just the same. It's like we're just starting to scratch the surface of what's possible. There's the pied blood python. Is now out there, and I got one of those.
Wow.
So as far as the next level of project for what we're going to be doing here is definitely the pied.
So what's your favorite morph? Like, what do you like working the most out of all these projects?
Look at those eyes.
Yeah, so that's the picture he's got up there is unproven morph. It just popped up in my collection. I kept the whole clutch back, and I'm trying to prove it out actually this season to see if I can replicate that look.
That's incredible.
It's almost like
as far as my favorite, I have to say Goldeneye. I mean, I think Goldeneye is one of the best snake mutations of any snake. I mean, Goldeneyes and what you can do with them is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that the base of that is Goldeneye. Jeez. So that's Goldeneye, Ivory.
The ivories are really nice too, man.
Ivories are cool.
Yeah.
See, even though there's something to be said for, sort of the more classic look too, that nice deep red that they get the name from.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, there's a lot of people that focus on selectively breeding them too, Kara and then Kevin Martyr. And there's, I mean, you can go so many different ways. And then what you can do is you can take a really nice selectively red blood python like that and put it into a morph project.
It changes the whole thing.
The whole thing. And it's the best way to go about it.
That's what I try and like, I'm not going to say preach, but that's why I try and say to a lot of people is like, you have your guys that focus on your morphs and that's fantastic. But like the guys that focus on the wild types, that can change those morphs by itself, incredibly. Having that selectively bred wild type for whatever trait can, change your morphs completely. Like there's always something to be said for selective breeding, just normal, quote unquote normal, your wild type animals, because that can go a long way.
Absolutely. And the approach is the same. I think that, whether you're going to do the normal, wild type, or you're going to do morphs, you should approach it the same way. And
absolutely.
There's no reason not to. And with blood pythons, then you can cross both of those things together and really elevate your projects either way.
So are there more morphs in short tails or bloods? Or is it pretty evenly
bloods,
split?
I would think.
Yeah, there's more, known morphs in blood pythons. With Borneo short-tailed pythons, they're really polygenic.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's all selective breeding as far as I've understood with Borneos. It's all kind of selectively bred polygenic stuff. Whereas with bloods, it's true, recessive and incomplete dominant mutations.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's some certain things in Borneos. There's an albino now, but a lot of it is polygenics, and so that kind of throws people for a loop sometimes. But once you understand it, it's like crested geckos or leopard geckos. It's
right. Yeah, it just takes a little time and a lot of research to kind of get a grasp on it. But that type of thing is always, you put your time and effort into stuff, you will be successful and you will get it.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
exactly. And just ask questions. I mean, there's I'm not the only breeder out there, so.
That pied is incredible. Holy smokes.
It's a cool snake. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. How many pied animals do you own right now?
I have that female.
Okay. And is that a recessive trait like it is within ball pythons?
Yeah, it is. So the adult female was imported, and then all the resulting offspring are from that original animal.
Nice.
And it's a good pied. It's like the ball python pied, which I think is a good pied. I mean, even if you don't like ball pythons, a pied is a beautiful snake.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It still blows my mind with like the pied balls. I remember, back when I was, first starting to get into snakes, I was looking at ball pythons more. Your basic, single gene pied was, $1,500. And then that market has just dropped so immensely. If it doesn't have a million other things in it, it's it's a $200-$300 snake.
So yeah, but I mean, the original ball python pied was from 1990, I think. So if you look at it over that amount of time, that it's still a $350 snake. That's really good.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Because I'm with you. I think pieds. Again, me not being into balls, if I were, I would get pieds like right off the rip. I think pieds one of the most incredible morphs in any snake, personally. But super neat.
It's really what Go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
The fallout gene.
Okay, that's a combination.
Okay.
So that's going to be goldeneye, ivory, and batik.
Okay.
And so all the flecking that's in that animal is from the batik gene.
So goldeneye is incomplete dominant, correct?
Correct. The super is magpie.
Okay. And batik is what, recessive or incomplete as well?
Incomplete dominant, and the super form is basically like a khaki tan patternless animal.
Nice.
Yeah, I freaking love that.
That's incredible, man.
Ugh.
I'll check out the pod. Go back out, click that pod.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Holy smokes. That is awesome.
So I'm hoping to be able to get red in there and T positive albino and just really mess with that base background color. And I love all the black flecking she's gotten in her scale. She, when I first got her, she didn't have any of that. So that's developed over time.
Okay.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's incredible. Did you get her as like a hatchling?
Yeah, she was a couple months old when I got her.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of where our focus is going to be going forward and seeing what we can do there.
Yeah, that's definitely a good focus to have, man. These are incredible.
It's just the eyes,
Thank you.
man.
I really appreciate
love
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Golly, man. Man, you're gonna make me want Bloods again after this episode.
Well, you know what? You just come up and we'll get you squared away.
Oh man. Don't get me started on the Borneo train, man. I would get Borneos real quick. I'm not even gonna lie. Ugh.
They're great snakes too.
Yeah, they're awesome.
What are the sort of the major differences between the two, though? I mean, like Bloods get a little bigger.
I don't see a noticeable difference in any three of them.
Okay.
Or any of them. And yeah, I mean, temperament wise, it's going to be a spectrum across the board with all of them. Some people say that the Sumatrans stay smaller, but I had 2 huge orange head Sumatrans, 15, 16 years ago. I mean, they were giant. So, they're all relatively the same. Care is the same. Borneos tend to have more eggs but they're smaller. So the babies are a little bit smaller. But other than that, it's pretty much, what your care is going to be for one, it's going to be for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're talking about size. I'm going to go to the basic question here because I feel like there's a lot of variation on size of Bloods. I've seen some
there's
yeah,
what they should be, and then there's what you see.
What they can be and what they should be are two very different things. Very similar to carpet pythons, So what to you is your appropriate size blood? Because I've seen some that are 6 feet long and as big around as my freaking thigh. Like it's just insanity to me. But I feel like Bloods shouldn't necessarily be that big. But I want your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean those are massive snakes, and 9 times out of 10 they're obese.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I like a blood python to look like this. So you got the roundedness on the bottom,
mm-hmm.
and you can kind of visibly see the spine on the top.
Okay.
So yeah, those aren't like Illuminati hand signs or anything. It's just but yeah, so some of them are going to get big. It's just whatever's in them, but you really want the body condition to look like what I just gave an example of. So you can, that snake's robust. It's strong. It's not just so fat that it can't move. I've seen some of those big snakes too, but you never see them around eggs.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
True.
That's a good point.
I see a lot of parallels between them and chondros.
Yeah, I was about to say, so kind of almost a chondro body shape, just a little thicker.
I mean, in multiple aspects,
right.
Like there's the sort of the stigma that they're bitey and all of them are, just not enjoyable to deal with. And then I'm sure overfeeding is a pretty common thing. And, the humidity and temperature thing, I'm sure there's people that are keeping them too hot and keeping them too wet. Right. And you're dealing with, an ambush hunter.
Very much ambush.
So I see just a ton of very similar scenarios. And I've had some people tell me, keeping chondros and keeping Bloods, they're not too dissimilar. You're just dealing with animals that are in two different ends of the height.
Yeah, one's up, one's down.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's pretty much it. My experience has been similar because I kept and bred chondros as well. So now I had them all in the same room and was breeding blood pythons and chondros in the same space. And I saw you shedding, hand shedding that, that Biak the other day, and it was fine, and most people would be like, oh my God, it's going to, it's, a lot of it's approach.
Crossed her mind a couple times while I was doing that.
Yeah, at the end, especially.
She was thinking about it.
Yeah.
A lot of it's approach. A lot of it's getting comfortable with your animals, putting the time into them. So many people just want the instant gratification of having this snake. You have to realize that it's a snake, first of all. A blood python, especially, its entire, or a chondro, its entire mission is just to stay hidden. You know?
Right.
So, you're going to have to put the time in and build confidence with that animal, from a keeper perspective, and for that animal to get used to you as well. So, getting a baby is a really, a captive born baby is a great way to go. When blood pythons came into the country, 20, 25 years ago, they, mostly they were collected for the skin trade. So you can only imagine what that snake went through before it finally arrived here.
Yeah.
And that snake was not going to be nice to anything,
No.
and we've really moved far from that. But I think it's also important for people to keep their expectations in check when we're dealing with wild animals, and especially snakes, and a snake that's entire mission is to remain hidden and out of sight. So, you can definitely work with them and build that relationship. Just put the time in.
Yeah, absolutely.
How similar is how they're, like, the current sort of state of how people keep them properly? How much does that align with sort of the natural history aspect of it? Like, are they being kept too hot and too wet? Because I feel like there's the general consensus is that they're like basically just mud slugs that are sitting in a swamp.
Yeah, for a long
soggy.
time that was the idea. For a long time that was like, hot, like, as wet as you can get them, humid, and they did not do well in that environment. So really, for me, the way I set them up is pretty basic. It's on paper, because they do pass a lot of liquid urates. So it's about keeping them clean. That's first and foremost, is to be able to keep your snakes clean. And then, basking spot 84 to 86, and I keep my room about 77 degrees, and that's it.
Okay.
If you get if you get blood pythons, 88, 90, you're going to have a mean snake. They just don't like it.
Oh, yeah, they like pits. Pits get cranky when they get kept hot.
Yeah, too. that they do. They do not like being kept hot. So how often do you feed yours? Do you take more of a carpet python approach? Because a lot of carpets are very. I'm sure you've worked with carpets before in the past. They get fat easy if you feed them once a week, even every 2 weeks. If you feed them those big meals, like they get fat really easy. So our blood's kind of the same way. Do you take more of a, at least as an adult, more of a once a month approach to the feeding them, or like what do you do?
You could do once a month for sure. If you're going to do a larger food item, but I like to do like a medium rat every other week.
Okay, there you
go. As my animals are adult size, and then before the breeding season, I'll bump that size up to a large or a jumbo for my females, and then the same thing once they lay eggs. So they're very, very efficient with their calorie intake. They don't need a lot of food. They're not moving around. I can tell you that right now.
Exactly.
So they're, what they're able to utilize, it's really incredible, and so that's kind of how I approach my bigger animals. For my hatchlings, I like to get them started once a week, just to get them going.
Right.
It takes blood pythons about 90 days to have that first shed.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, they don't come out of the egg and shed like most snakes do. It takes them about 90 days. And then once they do that, I'll bump them down to every other week.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that sounds about the same as carpets, because I do that for my, all my adult females. It's a medium rat on a normal day, a medium rat every 2 weeks, sometimes 3, depending, and then bump it up a little bit during breeding season. Or I also give them quail, for about the equivalent size as a rat, because rats are kind of fatty, so I try to give more quail.
Right.
But yeah, no, that sounds about in line with how I work.
See, I almost think it would be easier to get carpets to lose weight compared to bloods.
To lose weight, yeah, I would imagine.
It's like it seems like it's very easy to get them to put on weight, but getting them to get weight off is almost impossible.
That's with a lot of snakes. Yeah, getting weight off of snakes.
Aside from, like I said, you probably have to just cut them off food indefinitely, I would think.
Yeah, that can even make it drawn out even farther, because their metabolism will almost stop. So if you really want them to lose weight, it would be going to a smaller item and spread it out, but so that they, when their metabolism kicks in, they're burning more calories than that meal actually was, and then they would start to lose some weight. But yeah, it's tough, and females that are real heavy like that, if they have too many, fat stores as those follicles grow and they hit those fat stores, the females reabsorb all the time. So you really want to keep your animals, a little leaner, a little longer. Obviously, I'm not talking about starvation or, any of that stuff.
Right.
They wouldn't breed that way. But
so you're telling me you're not feeding your adult females rabbits every other week? That's what I'm hearing right now.
What a freak!
The biggest thing I would do would be a jumbo rat, and that's usually after my females have laid a clutch of eggs.
Yeah. So with bloods, they're okay to take something pretty big after laying a clutch, because I know a lot of people like to keep it on the small side a little bit more frequently after a fresh clutch.
See, that's something I've always wondered about in general, though, because like I had some corns that laid, and I'm like, I feel like it's kind of mean to give you like a little morsel of a meal. It's like you're probably stupid hungry. So like I'm gonna give them, like, instead of giving them like a hopper, like I'll give them an adult. It wouldn't be like a massive adult, but it's like I do that and then do the cuts that I make because I swear by it, and they bounce back great.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the whole like smaller meal after laying a clutch thing came, but I don't.
Yeah, I really don't either. It's just what I've heard is like give them something small more frequently and build them back up type of deal.
I don't think you're gonna add more stress to that level that's already existing after laying a clutch. It's like now they're just stupid hungry and their body's like desperate for nourishment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for blood pythons, I don't see it being an issue. You're going to want that female to be hydrated. So the first thing I do after she lays a clutch of eggs is I soak her overnight in tepid water and make sure she gets hydrated. And then I'll offer a meal after that. And usually it's a jumbo rat. And they're happy to take them, I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
How do they look after they lay? Is it they usually kind of look normal?
Defeated?
It's like a deflated balloon. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
So it definitely takes its toll on them. I for the most part, unless my females bounce back really, really well, I only breed my females every other year.
And I think that's the way to go. Personally, I don't, even with carpets, I don't want to breed stuff back to back years. Like I knew a guy that had a carpet that he bred 3 years in a row, and that third year she died.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't want
but
anything to do with that.
Oh
yeah, I'm sure. I know that's probably not
it completely depends
normal.
On the species. Like corns, I'm not worried about.
Right.
Chondros, it depends on the individual.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for breeders and keepers, you got to know your animals. And it can't just be like, oh man, I really want to be able to do this again. But if she's not ready, just hold off. You'll be better off in the long run.
When in doubt, wait it out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hurry up and wait.
Have you done maternal incubation with any of your?
I have not. No. It's just, it's so hard to keep those parameters in check, and it's just easy enough for me to set them up and get my females back on food. Ultimately, their care is the most important thing to me. So it's just another 60 days without food or, stressed in and that kind of thing. Not that I don't think it's, it's like one of the coolest things to do. A friend of mine, Alexa, she did it a year, maybe 2 years ago. And it's really unbelievable, to see that whole process. But, I just want to get the females back on food and healthy again.
Yeah.
What would be really interesting, I just thought about it, is how the incubation and the temperatures and how the females achieve it would be different between things like bloods versus chondros versus antaresia.
Retics.
Because they're not all gonna do it exactly the same. Like you think about a blood, like that's a pretty well insulated animal. So I wonder if they would naturally keep them a little cooler, or maybe not have them heated up as long in intervals.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be cool to
That
find
would
that
be
out though,
interesting.
for sure.
Well, what do you incubate your eggs at?
86.
86. Okay, so pretty standard for Boyd's.
Yeah, I know for a long time people were doing like 89, and I bumped it down to 86 a few years ago, and it does take a little bit longer, but I've noticed, and it could be completely anecdotal, but
Bigger
I've noticed
babies.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
That seems to be a pretty big trend though overall, because we saw it with chondros too, where people were doing them at, I think, 86 and a half or 87, and then it slowly dropped down to like 85-ish, and it's with all the different species too, like even with colubrids and stuff. You notice there seems to be a very big trend over the last handful of years of people slowly dropping that temperature down and saying, you know what, it's going to take a little longer, but I'm getting better results.
Yeah.
Right. Which, to me just makes sense, because I think overall in the hobby, especially keeping pythons and boas, our temperatures have come down the way we keep them.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
it would make sense that the incubation process would catch up to that.
Absolutely. I had something.
You had something.
Where'd it go?
We're going to have to get you a blood python, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I had one. It was a juvenile, and this was probably like circa 2010. And it was on Craigslist, and I drove out to that BP in the middle of nowhere in Jacksonboro.
Oh God, that one.
Every time I drive by that BP, I'm like, that's where I got my blood.
Yeah, that's also where we. I saw the guy Iraq, and we went out there.
Yeah.
And
it's like in the between us and Charleston, in the middle of nowhere,
okay.
BP with a Church's Chicken in it. Meet me at the Church's Chicken.
Yeah.
But I got a. I don't know if it was a blood or a short tail. Honestly, I think it was rather like tan and with more creams and browns than anything else. I could probably dig up.
It could have been a Borneo.
But it was interesting. It was like having a living Jack in the Box, and it always kind of freaked me out because it would be like buried because I kept it on Cypress, and when I opened the tub, I could see the eyes going crazy and watching everything.
I'm telling you, man, they're more calculated than people think.
Like at some point,
absolutely,
it's going to take a swing at me and explode, and it's going to scare the snot out of me. And every time,
and until they're like, because bloods are so funny, man. Like if they start spazzing, it's one thing, but I feel like every strike is so calculated. Like I'm going to nail you at the perfect time, and I'm going to hit you. Like there's no doubt about it.
And they do that, gaboon eye thing, like gaboon vipers do. And I mean, you experience one from, some of them are like that. Some of them are, but overall they're a lot better than that experience you had.
Oh yeah, no, I
try not to base everything off the one.
Yeah, because
I know they're not all that bad.
My blood experience was I had for a period, I think, like I said, the most I had was 4. I had an albino, 2 baby wild types. I had a big, like, adult male. Like I'm not gonna say he was huge, but he was hefty. And the male was kind of hit or miss. He didn't like to be messed with at all. But he was tolerable. He wouldn't bite you every time.
Right.
The baby normals wanted nothing to do with anybody at any point in time whatsoever. And then the albino I had, sweetest snake ever.
Right.
That snake was amazing. I loved playing with it. He was fantastic. No problems whatsoever. So I could definitely see it being, kind of hit or miss with those things,
Just like Beox.
Yeah, especially.
I mean, like I hate
when they're small.
Yeah, yeah. Like people talk about Beox, and it's like honestly, yeah, a lot of Beox are just high strung and just not fun.
And like you said, with small snakes, man, like I think that plays such a huge role because you have to realize a small snake, your hand is huge. massive. Yep. And if you're coming over the top of it, that's a predator all day,
right.
And you have to realize that. Yeah. So it's, I don't know.
Are babies in general though?
And a lot of them
little
come
bitier?
around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they can be for
Yeah.
sure. But they come around pretty good. I could put one. I just fed everybody, but let's see.
How bad do the bites suck from the adults?
It's they hit hard. There's
Yeah.
a lot of weight. There's a lot of weight behind them.
Like they don't do the little like love tap of like, okay, I bet you leave me alone. It's like, nah, man, that arm's mine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it and I'm gonna own it.
See how she does here. There we go.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
How old is that one?
Let's see. Hatched in June.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah. See, mine wasn't anywhere near that big, so mine must have been like fresh. Crazy.
Nice.
And this, there were rats in this room thawed out earlier and everything, so they're really not that scary.
You just reached right in, grabbed her out.
That's it. Now if I, made a fast move in front of her face, being that it's nighttime and my hands are warm and the computer's in here, and all those different factors are going to play into, how this animal behaves for sure. So,
yeah.
But, like I said, this is pretty much how they are.
Well, that's better than most of my carpets, man. I don't reach in and just grab any of my carpet pythons. Like, period.
That's why I like running.
It's let them know I'm there with a hook, get them a little rub, pull their ass end out, pick them up, good to go. But dude, I'm telling you, probably 90 and 90% of my 95% of my carpets, if I just reached in there,
food,
you're gonna get whacked all day.
Yep.
Oh,
And it's
same with chondros. Like as soon as I slide open that tub, they get the little like food.
Oh, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. So again, that's what I just think they're such a great snake.
Yeah.
A lot of my snakes are like the one I just took out.
So I want your take on this, given the whole sort of rack versus Walmart Supercenter size cage debate.
Dude, I swear you read my mind. I was about to ask a similar question.
Do you find that those do better in racks where visibility is lower and it's darker and they're feeling more secure? Have you tried?
I absolutely do. I've kept them in cages, when I had just a few snakes, a long time ago. There isn't a one size fits all for keeping snakes. Species specific, it's your skill set. It's how you have things set up. I think racks for blood pythons are perfect for them, from babies all the way to adulthood. You can see the racks behind me there have windows. A rack is just a cage, just a stacked cage. Mm-hmm. It's not different, guys.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
This idea that, you have to do bioactive and it has to be 6 feet long. And it's like, not every animal is that way. If I had a room full of indigo snakes, it wouldn't look like this.
Right.
Because it's a different animal. With these snakes, racks work wonderfully. They're calm. You just saw, it's nighttime here. I took that snake out. I fed it around that snake. You take them out, they're fine. You can keep them warm. You can keep them clean. And with blood pythons, I'm telling you, that's one of the biggest factors of keeping them healthy is keeping them clean, because that urate, the liquid urates, is unbelievable.
When they flood the cage.
Yeah, and there isn't enough isopods in the world to handle it.
Yeah,
just get those prehistoric,
and I'm not,
like the size of an armadillo.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if you want to, put them in a wonderful cage with fake plants and stuff, you can absolutely do that, and just make sure that snake feels secure and can hide, because ultimately that's what the blood pythons want to be able to do.
So with your adults, do you keep them in like a FB90 style tub or similar, or what do you keep your adults in?
The ARS 8500 series tub. And what I really like about them a lot is that they're straight down from top to bottom. So they don't V in like this.
Right.
So you don't lose square inches.
Mm-hmm.
So what you got at the top is what you have at the bottom. And very, very few tubs are made like that these days. So if you see the ones there on the other side behind me there with the windows, Those are where I keep my adults. So
Okay.
you can see that, nobody's slammed up front, nobody's pushing to get out. It's a really great cage for them. And I have a big window in front of me, in front of the computer here. So they get natural light and all those things.
Nice. Very good.
If you were going to keep them now, like currently in a more naturalistic setup, like what would, in your opinion, what would be the ideal sort of size, and how would you have it set up?
I would do a 4x2, and then, maybe 2 feet high. So you're getting a lot of good air exchange. That's a big thing for these guys, is to keep the air moving. I have 2 fans running in here when I'm not talking on the computer. So it's, airflow is a big one. I would do it that way. I would do a substrate that, is cost effective for you, because you're going to be throwing it in the so whether it's cypress or cocoa fiber, those work really good. High boxes, you're going to want one on each side, warm side and the cool side, and a nice big water bowl. I use, 7.5-inch water bowls with a disposable water bowl inlaid in it. Fresh, clean water is really important for these snakes.
Yeah.
I change my waters, probably 3 times a week, no matter what.
Wow.
Whether they're dirty or not.
Yeah. That's commitment right there, man. When you got a lot of snakes, just doing those simple water changes, that adds up.
When it's also your full-time gig,
Yeah,
and actually
when
have
it's your full-time gig. Yeah, that's
time to just
right.
knock it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, clean, fresh water is very important for them too. So, but yeah, that's how I would do it. Even if you're going to go a little more complex, I would still try and keep it kind of simple, because then, you're going to want to clean it more. If it's super complicated, you're not going to break that cage down enough.
No, absolutely. So what do you use? You say you use a disposable dish inside of, a 7.5-inch dish. What's the disposable dish? I'm curious, because I used to use kind of a similar route, but what I was doing wasn't very cost effective, because it was plastic cups inside of other things, and I felt like it was a lot of plastic waste.
The holders built in.
So yeah, exactly.
I can't get into those, man.
Yeah, well, I wasn't using that. I was using like a PVC.
Yeah, you were using like the coupling
cup,
kind of thing,
and then like had the plastic in it, and then I had a bunch of people give me shit about like, oh, it's plastic waste, and I was like, well,
you're not gonna, you're not gonna.
I recycle them, well,
guess what?
Yeah, exactly.
If I don't recycle them, then I'm using like 4 rolls of paper towels a week. So take your pick, plastic or trees.
That's true.
Yeah, that's so true. No matter what, you're going to be using resources to keep your animals healthy.
Right.
Paper towels, because I do the same thing. So my smaller tubs, I use the coupling, and then, for my adults, it's the big dog food dish, and then a to go, like a takeout container, round takeout container. I just drop that right in the bowl. It's for all the snakes that I have, and how important clean water is. It's, like you said, just recycle them. It's okay.
Yeah. I've always thought that was the cleanest way for water dishes. Just dispose of the interior plastic, brand new one. It's clean right off the rip. Well, number one, it's quicker. You don't have to sit there and wash out your water dish and wipe it out. It's quicker and it's cleaner. And I feel like the cleaner aspect is the most important thing. Like it's fresh. It's there. There's no disinfecting, no nothing. I've always thought that was a better route, but I had a bunch of people made me feel like a dick about doing that. So I haven't done that in several years now, but I've been thinking about going back to it recently. So I'm like, I don't know.
I used to do it all the time when I had Cresteds, and I was using those little saucer deli cups. I just recycled them.
Cups. Yeah.
I was going green.
Might be the way to do it.
Yeah, it works great, for us. So I think a lot of people also have a misconception of what, a disinfectant protocol actually is compared to what they're doing.
Right.
So, there's a true disinfecting protocol is labor intensive. So, for us to be able to just throw those bowls out and replace them clean is great.
You mean in terms of more than just spraying with disinfectant, but like UV exposure, like doing multiple things to truly disinfect something?
Yeah, I mean, even if that water bowl had, fecal material on it. So you can't just spray your disinfectant on there. Your disinfectant, most disinfectants, bleach included, aren't effective if there's actually, soiled material on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to wash it down with soap and water first, then disinfect it, then you can put it back.
Then you also have to let that disinfectant sit for like 5 minutes. I feel like a lot of people are just like, spray it, wipe it, good to go. Like, no, that's not how that works. It's got to sit for 5 to 10 minutes for it to actually
watching me when
disinfect.
I'm doing
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
You
always stick them in the dishwasher too. There's that option.
And, I started doing that. I haven't shared that because I felt like people would give me flack about it. But I actually have started just dishwash. So I have quite a few water snakes, and I feed them all on dishes. Like just a bunch of chopped up pinkies and fish or whatever. And I take those old dishes and I just throw them in my dishwasher.
Do your roommates know this?
Yes, they do. Yes, in fact, they do.
If I did that, Katie would beat my ass.
Dude, I literally bought a cutting board and a knife. I bought a cutting board and a knife, and I was like, everybody listen up. This knife is for cutting up mice and fish for my snakes. This cutting board is for cutting up said fish and mice. Okay? This is what I bought it for. This is the use. If you want to use it, that's fine. But be forewarned. This is what I use it for. It is mine.
You might get a staph infection or hepatitis.
Yeah. Use at your own risk.
The things that we're used to,
Yeah, exactly. Like had to go get a chest freezer because nobody likes the mice next to the freaking ice cream, whatever.
You're vacuum sealed. It's fine.
It's all good.
Yeah. No.
Are you breeding your own rodents?
No. You guys do it?
Who do you get your rodents from?
I've done it. Andrew at Carolina Rodent supplies me with a lot of live stuff, and then Cold Blooded Cafe.
Okay,
I get stuff from. Desiree out there. It's expensive.
That it is.
It's expensive these days. So.
Yeah. No, I just started.
But I just it's like I can't breed them myself. Yeah. I've done it before in the past, and I just whatever they cost, I'm glad that you're doing it, and I'll pay you.
I think there's a certain threshold people have to
there definitely
hit
is.
To where they're like, okay, this isn't fun anymore. Like if you have a smaller operation, it's not that big of a deal, but it's like when it becomes its own separate full-time thing each week, then it's like, okay, I can see where people would be over it.
Yeah, because when you have so many, it's almost between your time, and it still costs a lot of money to feed those freaking rats. It really does, So between the time it takes and the and the cost to actually maintain them, between food and bedding and all that stuff, I mean, it almost evens out to just buy. Again, depending on the operation. If you have a semi-smaller collection, ergo you can have a semi-smaller group of rodents, then that's one thing. But when you're feeding 200 animals, that's a tall order. That's a tall order. So,
and I think they're even tougher than snakes and stuff, because it's like you don't have the option of like, oh, I can just get it tomorrow. Like,
right.
Those things get gross quick, and you miss, you get thrown off that schedule, man. Things go downhill quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be great to have the option just to go out and pick what you need. But, I really appreciate the people that are willing to do it for all of us in this hobby, for sure.
Yeah. I actually just got in a rodent order today from a company I've never ordered from, and I'm actually very happy about it.
Which one was that?
I got from Big Cheese.
Yeah. See, that's who I usually. Anytime I've had to order frozen, it was Big Cheese.
So I've been using Rodent Pro for quite a while. I was going with Cold Blooded Cafe for a period. Then I wasn't getting as much stuff, and now that I have a lot more snakes, I was going with Rodent Pro because they were cheaper.
Right.
But
you get what you pay for.
Yeah, no, and they weren't bad. That's the thing. I'm not gonna shit talk Rodent Pro, because yes, there were times where I got mice and I was kind of like, ew. but most of the time they were actually pretty good. From what I noticed, the smaller stuff had more problems than the bigger stuff. Like the extra large, I get more extra large mice than anything because I have a bunch of colubrids. Most everything maxes out on extra large mouse. And for the most part, I haven't had any problems with those. It's the pinkies that come in or the fuzzies. I got a batch of fuzzies from Rodent Pro that was absolutely disgusting. Frozen, if they smell bad frozen, there's a problem. Okay,
that's like little mummies.
Yeah, no, they were just kind of like weird in color, and I was like, yeah, I don't really like this. But today I ordered I think I got 200 pinkies, 150 fuzzies, and like 200 hoppers, and I got them all from Big Cheese, and everything's vacuum sealed and much smaller packaging, and they all look really good. So I'm pretty happy with the results. I might end up switching to them pretty much full time.
I first used them in 2014, and when I had to order again recently, because I traditionally haven't, since I do my own mice stuff, I haven't had to worry about buying frozen, but to take some pressure off the colony because I didn't pace things out right with grow outs and stuff, I had to order frozen, and I was like, you know what? I was happy with Big Cheese back then. Go ahead and do them again. And same thing. I'm really happy with them. The sizes, to me, it seems like the biggest hurdle, especially that Jake's had, is size and consistency.
Oh, God.
It's like there's not really a standard, and then you have so much variation between litters and stuff there that it's like you can have bigger mice that maybe don't weigh as much and smaller mice that maybe might be more dense or something, just weirdness. And so like I like Big Cheese just because their stuff has been pretty much exactly what I wanted, in that size.
Yeah, no, they were definitely, from what I saw in the packaging, I didn't open any up or anything today. But from what I saw in the packaging, I mean, they seemed very consistent. The thing with Rodent, I think the one thing that threw me off the most with Rodent Pro, again, like I've only had really had problems with fuzzies. I've gotten pinkies that were a little freezer burnt, and I'm like, like freezer burn doesn't bother me as much as it bothers a lot of people. In my opinion, snakes will kind of eat dead, rotting stuff in the wild.
Yeah, they don't care.
A little freezer burn is not going to hurt anything as long as it's not excessive. Okay, but there's one time I ordered from Rodent Pro, got a batch of fuzzies, and I got black fuzzies because they were on sale that day. So I was like, okay, cool. Got these, and they were the biggest, skinniest fuzzies I've ever seen in my life.
Weird.
Yeah, it was so weird. They were like hopper bodies in like a fuzzy weight, and I didn't like it at all, and not one bit. So I haven't ordered black fuzzies ever since, or black mice ever since, because I
think you gave me some.
I did.
Yeah,
I did give you some, and I was like, dude, pay attention to this. I'm not losing my mind here. Like, these things have like a full body of hair, like a hopper would, but they were so freaking skinny.
See,
and
but
I'm
even
like, this is weird. I don't like
I'd get
this.
some litters and mice though, where they'd reach that point where they're supposed to. They are sort of fuzzy size, but they are like the hair's all there and everything. And it seemed more random than anything else. Like I couldn't pinpoint anything that would have caused it, other than mom just either not eating enough or something. I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of vitamin or mineral there that was lacking. But yeah, I don't know. I've noticed every now and then you get some that once they hit that size, it's weird. They got like the Benjamin Button thing going on. I don't.
Yeah,
strange.
Yeah, but no, I think Big Cheese is going to be my go-to from now on. A little bit more expensive than Roto Pro, but again,
see, even then,
you get what you pay for.
I shopped around before I ordered from Big Cheese just to see how much, everyone talks about how expensive mice were, and I'm like, okay, well, let me see how they are in comparison to like Perfect Prey, who's sort of more regional to us. They're down in Florida.
They are so
in comparison to like Lane Labs and some of the other. And I shopped around and compared prices and stuff, and I still think Big Cheese was the best in terms of like quality to price.
So I actually have looked into like the individual piece by piece, and Big Cheese. The thing that Rodent Pro does that kind of makes them the cheapest is the shipping. With Rodent Pro, anything over $100, free shipping. You don't have to pay for shipping. Big Cheese,
that's nice.
Yeah, it is. It is. Big Cheese, on the other hand, is normally cheaper piece by piece. Like each rodent itself is cheaper in Rodent Pro,
Mhm.
but you have to pay for shipping, and each box costs $30 to ship. So if you get 2
Which
boxes,
still,
that's
like,
an extra $60.
$30
Yeah.
ain't bad.
If you're only getting 1 box. If you're
See,
getting
and
2
that's
or
kinda what's
3,
funny, too,
then
is
it's
like-
that's where it kind of adds up. But with Rodent Pro, didn't matter.
We'll
yeah.
spend 60 on a snake to get shipped to us, no problem.
Yeah.
But frozen
It's
mice,
true.
it's above 30.
That's a good
That's
point.
completely out of the question.
That's a good point.
Are you out of your mind?
That's true.
But it's like we'll buy a $50 snake and pay $60 in shipping, no problem.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and that's kind of where I came to. You know, I tried Big Cheese this time because Chris Paint Shop swears by Big Cheese up and down.
Yeah, because they're out of Texas.
Yeah, and I pretty much worship Chris, so I was like, you know what? Let me listen.
Mhm.
Let me listen to my dad out in Texas. I'm gonna get from him. and I'm happy with it. Again, I only saw but today, but honestly, what was really nice from them is everything was vacuum sealed like severely and in much smaller bags. I'm like, man, I can compact these in my freezer so much easier than these massive bags that I'm getting from Rodent Pro. So
Shout out to Big Cheese if you want to sponsor us, hit me up. PalmExotics@gmail.com.
That'd be dope. Yep. I think
What?
that was Nick.
He'll be back in a second.
He's loading. Squiggly dot.
I don't know. At what point is too many sponsors?
It's never too many. Dude, if we could get a rodent sponsor, I would be over the moon. That would be awesome.
No.
Device not connected.
Doot. StreamYard is struggling.
Nick, where art thou?
How's that Coors Light treating you there, Joe Dirt?
I feel like a redneck.
Silver Bullet.
These are just in my fridge. So I grabbed a couple on the way.
Nice cold beer on a nice cold night.
Yes, it's definitely not making me warmer. You back?
Hey, guys, yeah, geez, huh? I knew this might be an issue.
Nah, it's all good.
It happens every week, man.
We've had way worse, especially on
wow.
our end. So,
all right, well, that makes me feel
had
better.
some episodes where we couldn't go 10
dude.
minutes without it cutting out. On someone's end. So
we basically had a whole episode ruined one time because it was just, and it was live. That was the best part of it.
Yeah.
We had a live one-on-one, and it was a freaking nightmare.
Yep.
That's tough.
So no worries at all. So
Cool.
So with Bloods and Short-Taileds, where do you think people go wrong the most in multiple aspects or one singular?
I think keeping them too warm, but again, that's starting to be phased out pretty good. But you do see it every once in a while. My snake's being super aggressive, and it wasn't always this way. First thing to do is check your temps. Make sure you have a temp gun. And I think that's a good part of overall animal husbandry anyway, just to keep track of everything.
yeah.
Keep them clean, and just if you do end up with an animal that a breeder said was easy to work with, and then they ship it halfway across the country, and you're disappointed because you take it out of the bag and it bites you. Well, it's going to take a little while for that animal to settle in. Blood pythons seem to take a long time to settle back into a routine.
Mm-hmm.
That animal out of the bag. Now everything smells different, looks different. It was in a dark little box. You just got to give it some time to come around.
Come out swinging too.
Yeah, so would I. There's no doubt about it. But that's just just to keep those things in mind, that entire animal's life has just been turned upside down. So give it some time to settle in and be patient. That's a big thing.
And I think something that goes a long way that I think a lot of people should do is and because of that, because everything is so different, a lot of times if I'm getting a new snake, especially one being shipped halfway across the country, I asked the breeder, how were you keeping this? Like, send me a picture of the exact setup it was in, and then try to mimic that. Try to mimic
Yep.
the hides, the substrate, the water dish. Like, granted, yes, it's a new room, new smells. Everything's gonna be different.
Some
The
familiarity.
snake knows something's gonna be off, but if you can at least mimic that enclosure to the best of your abilities, I think that can go a long way with acclimation.
Absolutely, that's a really good point. Is just to reach out and talk with that breeder. To really get a good understanding of what they were doing, and because they know that animal better than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another parallel to chondra is like,
yeah,
chondras take a while to settle in too.
Yeah.
Do you find imports to be those take longer to really get into a groove if they ever fully do?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a lot of those don't. Again, with the skin trade where most blood pythons predominantly come from, it's just not a good. It's not a good scenario. So, I think that's the blood python skins are the highest number of skins in the skin trade. The number is astronomical. So the ones that actually do make it out, I can't imagine it was any good. But if you start, with a young one, like sometimes the collectors will get gravid females and let the eggs hatch, and then they'll ship the babies over. That can be a better way to go. But, this time, where we're at in herpetoculture, I think that, you can find a good breeder that it'll get you started off on the right foot. So you have a good experience and you continue to grow with the species, because that's ultimately what we want.
Another parallel to chondros. Why would I buy captive bred when there's one for $300 on this table right here?
That's tough, isn't it?
That's tough. No, and that's the thing with being able to, because a lot of species you can't import anymore. Australian carpets being one of them. But again, there's a place for imports. There's always going to be a place for imports. But it's one of those things, leave it to the guys that really know what they're doing and let them deal with that while you get established with their captive bred babies.
Right.
Like, there's always going to be a place for imports. It's always going to be there. It's very necessary, to keep this hobby going, and keep bloodlines fresh. We need imported animals, but leave it to the guys that really know what is going on with those animals. And then you just reap the benefits from their hard work.
Exactly.
I mean, you do pay a premium for that. But...
yes, and not even always a premium. You don't have to start with a $900 captive bred animal. You can get a captive bred blood for a couple $100.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not going to be a golden eye or 007, but if you want to
get a nice snake,
you'll get a beautiful snake for a couple $100. That's nothing, for if you really want to put the time and effort into it. That ain't hard, and there's ways to go about it. And
it gives you the opportunity to build a relationship, because that's an important aspect of all this too. Like you said, your friend in Texas and how we've all got our start in this. We all have those people in our lives that have influenced us and continue to influence us. And you want to be able to build that relationship with somebody. And, asking questions and being involved in the process is a great way to do that.
And let's be honest, man, if you get a new snake and first thing right out the bag, it's biting you, that's not good for you either. As far as, getting into keeping, or even if you've been a keeper, you're getting into a new species, you get something that bites you and is biting you right off the rip, nail. It's not going to be a good experience for you. It's not going to be a good experience for the snake. Do yourself and that animal a favor. Get something captive bred. A little easier to handle, a little easier to work with. It's going to be better all around.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And if that's your number one priority in getting a blood python is workability, then let the breeder know that, and they can come up with something, because a lot of times it's not always that way. It's color or pattern, or whether it's male or female, those other aspects come into play as well. So if your number one thing is that, be upfront about that, and that way you the breeder knows what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Do you think there is a genetic predisposition to disposition?
Yes. I don't necessarily make it my first focus is, how tame the adults are, but I would never take two chainsaw animals and put them together.
I like that term. I've never heard a chainsaw animal before. I like that.
So I think there is a role there, genetically. If you have something that's just really, really anxious but super beautiful, and you want to pass those genes on, use a mate that is easier to handle, without ruining what you want out of that pairing per se. And again, this goes back to keeping a focused collection and being able to pivot and make those decisions that you can do, when you're only working with a few species. If you only had a couple of them and that was it, you're kind of stuck, and you're going to produce animals from two maybe really, really nervous adults, and your offspring are going to be that way.
Right.
Well, it's interesting too, because you think about it. So that chondro clutch I produced, because I peaked in high school with that clutch and everything like that. The dam she was an import, but she was brought in when she was really young and small, and she was pretty mellow when she was out.
Yeah, she had her times though.
The male, I think, was imported as an older animal, and he's been a prick since like day one. But that female that I was helping with the stuck shed last night is the offspring of both of those.
Right.
And she's completely handleable. I normally, even last night when she was kind of getting a little testy, like even that's abnormal for her. So what makes me just wonder about the whole thing is like, that's like F1 practically.
It is.
Right.
Not practically.
So it's like, how can you have that natural instinct that things are born with to, especially when it's a naturally sort of higher strung species. I mean, I guess Amazons are kind of one of the exceptions, but like, it's just wild that it can just, you get one generation in and it's like, it's a completely different story from what the parents were like.
I think a lot of it has to go into, it's all that animal is known literally since day one. Monkey Man was picking it up and grabbing it, versus something imported. Monkey Man grabbed it out of a tree and it's already a couple years old, and it's like, what the hell?
How was the rest of that clutch?
I mean, everyone that has an animal from that clutch, like they say they're completely chill. They're like the anti-Biak.
That's awesome.
Just as mellow as everything else. I think Brahms has one, and I want to say his is a little more high strung. But like the 2 or 3 other people that I know have animals from that clutch, like they're handling them all the time and they don't have a problem. So
that's great.
That's interesting.
I think it's also just really hit or miss and on the individuals between anything, because my first clutch of carpets, I had one male that was just complete psycho. And I held him back for 2.5, 3 years. I just a couple months ago, I sold him to a good buddy of mine, Brendan. And when he hears this, he's going to laugh.
Friend of Meyer.
Yeah. So this animal had literally, like, with me, I'd had, again, for going on 3 years, this thing had just gotten to the point of kind of calming down. Like, I could hold him without drawing blood. He didn't like it. You could tell he was on edge, but I could hold him without drawing blood. And to me, that was huge progress. I sent him to Brendan, and he was like, dude, this thing's a freaking psychopath. I was like, dude, I told you.
Steps back.
And I told him, I was like, just heads up. This thing's just getting to a point where I can hold it. Hopefully he's cool with you, but saw a chance he might be a huge dick.
Well, that's payback for that sun-kissed female he sent me. At least he gave me a heads up about her. She's like, yeah, she's horrible.
Yeah.
And sure enough, she's horrible.
Yeah, dude. He texted me right away and was like, and he's had it since early July, late August, and because I sent it to him over the summer. And from day one, he's like, dude, this thing's a dick. He literally sent me a picture yesterday, and he's like, dude, this thing's still an asshole. He's like, at least he eats now for the most part, because he was so psychotic, like he almost wouldn't eat, until he was really hungry.
Just too angry.
Yeah, he was too angry. He's like, he's actually eaten for me like 4 times now without any problems. So that's great, you know. So he's making progress. But dude, this thing's a dick. And I'm like, sorry, dude. Like, I did warn him.
Call that the IJJ special.
Yeah. Now that's the only one though, man. If there's usually one with my carpets. There's usually always one. That's like just wants blood, no matter what. It doesn't matter. It's just, and that's freaking the male. Yeah, the male has 4 generations of line bred captive breeding in him. The female had several.
Pet hatred.
Like there wasn't. It's not like they're fresh imports or anything. Yeah, pretty much. There's always that couple, and I feel like that's with anything.
Yep, it is. And ultimately these are snakes, and I like them because they're snakes, and so
exactly.
Do you have bloods that are not necessarily like super defensive or high strung, but they're just constantly in food mode to where it's like you could have just fed them and they're still gunning for you? Because I've got corns where it's like I would love to handle you, but it's like every time I walk in the room or move, I hear you thudding against the side of the cage. You're not getting fed, even though I just fed you. You're still like, I don't know if they have a tapeworm or like what. They're constantly want food, and I'm like, chill, man.
Yeah, I can turn that food response off pretty good and take them out. Once I take them out of their enclosure, I don't have any that are just still coming after me. Nothing like that.
Yeah, those corns, man, they just. Jake knows what one of those that A-mail mask that Chris sent me. That was just like periodic. Like he was holding her, and she would go over an inch and like nibble a little bit, and then she'd be like, okay, that's not it, and she'd go over a couple more inches, nibble a little bit, that's not it,
and then she just grabbed my finger and was like, this is it. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, stop.
It's like that's it. It's
still not it.
No, that's you just get some snakes like that, man,
because it's only a couple of them. Everyone else is cool.
I notice most of the time they're freaking colubrids.
Yeah,
like I've never had a carpet that I've had one carpet that thought everything was food, but he was a jag, so I give him a slide.
He gets a pass.
He gets a pass. But the only animals I take that back. I had a rosy boa one time. Many. It actually technically wasn't even mine. It was my significant other's at the time being many moons ago. But that thing thought everything was food, and I had a hognose that was that way. But rosy boas are basically colubrid boids.
Pretty much.
Let's be honest. But like
they're colubrids for people who don't like colubrids. They're boas for people who don't like boas.
There's a t-shirt.
Pretty much. Yeah. That was solid, Smitty. I like that. But for me, like I've only had that encounter with colubrids. As far as boids go, like I've never really had one other than that jag that thought everything was food. It was defensive, but it wouldn't grab you and wrap you every time you took it out. But I've had plenty of colubrids that like, oh, a finger, that's a mouse. like it's, I don't know.
You want a king snake?
No, I don't.
Okay,
actually.
Speaking of,
yeah.
Damn you, Jason Keller.
So makes me laugh.
I fed everybody the other morning or the other day, like Friday, and I walked in.
Thing probably eats like
the
a
next day or two.
Freaking madman.
Next day. And I was like, why does it smell like someone regurged? So I started looking around. Lo and behold, that king snake never even ate. So that pinky was just chilling.
What? It didn't eat?
Yeah,
what kind of faulty king snake doesn't eat?
First of all, you're going to give me a king snake I don't want. And then you're going to give me one that don't work right. It's defective.
Defective.
So, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. That it's pretty chunky, so it can afford.
Has it eaten at all?
Yeah, it had a piece of chicken foot.
A piece of chicken foot.
So I'm okay. I tried the chicken foot thing. I don't think I'm going back to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Because some of those BMs I got were a little funny. Like it was like just solid bone that just didn't get digested.
Yeah,
it was very strange.
No, I wouldn't go back to that.
And they were a real pain to cut. It was just weird because it was like cutting a human hand. Like it looked weird, felt weird. I didn't like it.
Yeah, no.
I'm good.
Wouldn't go that route, buddy.
Yeah, I tried.
No.
The only things I chop up are frog legs and fish, and those are only for the Neurodia.
Can't believe you keep those either.
Right?
Oh man,
What a freak.
don't come at me like that, Nick. We're good.
I have to.
We're friends here. All right, you don't have to. We're not going there. We're not.
I just I mean,
I
not
love
blood
them, man.
pythons, but water snakes.
Yeah. Look, man, I have a undying love for water snakes. A lot of them, a lot of people, a lot of herpers, because I am also an avid herper when I can be. A lot of people see Neurodia as bycatch. I'm the one taking a header into the swamp to catch said Neurodia. I love them.
I don't love them that much.
My entire being.
Not that much.
I'm like, oh look,
dude,
there's
I'm
a banded.
telling you,
wonderful.
If you interact with them and tongue feed them and stuff. Granted, I have a group that is absolutely horrible. I'm not gonna lie.
Ponchatulas?
Yes.
Yeah.
They are garbage snakes. I love them, but they are garbage. They will make you smell like shit every time you try and handle them. But every other one, like I have 3 other groups of Neurodia. I have a pair, and then a trio that aren't Ponchatulas. And they are fantastic. They are so I'm not gonna say interactive because it's all kind of food based. They're always hungry, but they don't try and bite you. Granted, yes, they kind of think everything is food. Once they're in your hands, they're good. They don't musk. They'll come right from tongs. I can literally, dude, I've got one that I have to feed separately from the other 2 because she's a hog. I literally just take my hook in there and I tap it on the ground and she comes out right up to the hook. I hook her, take her out, put her in her tub to feed. They're great. They're
just get a dog.
They're so because I already have one of those and I can't because I already have one of those and I can't keep it in a 72 quart tub.
Get some mom.
But they're really great, man. Granted, yes, there are some that are kind of psychopaths and they smell bad. But Neurodia, man, they're easy. They eat very willingly. You can give them different stuff. And honestly, Zach Loafman said it best because my man also keeps water snakes. If you keep their water clean, they're actually pretty low maintenance because they shit in their water bowl more than anything else.
Right.
So change their water frequently, and they're actually pretty low maintenance. Funny enough,
cool.
Your elevator pitch for this cult kind of sucks.
I'm just saying, man. I'm being honest. Okay,
he doesn't have a whole lot, man.
No, I don't.
The cult of Montrose.
There's a reason I only have a few of them, and I really don't want any more. But they are fantastic snakes.
He loves them so much he doesn't
numbers.
Want more of them.
Yes.
Sold.
Yeah, they're so great. He doesn't want another one.
I'm telling you, hats off to Montrose and how many he keeps. But he's one of the guys, man. He keeps a ton. He does great with them. I'm going to be on the smaller side with them, but I love them. They are fantastic, especially, dude. If you put them up,
Bob Jones of Neurodia.
Yeah, I just set them up in more naturalistic tubs, and dude, they get up on their wire perches and then their plants and stuff, and they perch and they're always out, basking and all that. They're they are cool.
That and it's even
really
better
cool.
than Neurodia.
Don't say Conjure. I'm going to punch you.
He's gonna
rhino rats.
Okay, rhino rats.
Not Barons.
I was about to say, you want to know what's
rats.
better? Barons. Barons are better.
Do you have an opinion on that? Barons over rhinos.
I'm rhinos.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. My man.
Well, this episode has been brought to you by BlackBox.
See you later.
So when you were in the zoo field, they had rhinos, right?
I brought them there.
Oh, see?
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Look,
no Barons.
You brought in Barons too, right? Come on, Nick. Come on.
No Barons.
No, man. Have you ever kept Barons?
I haven't. In fairness, I have not.
Okay, well then nobody can have an opinion. They haven't kept both. All right.
I kept both and rhinos all the way.
Yeah, that's because you put more focus on your rhinos. You didn't interact with your Barons. I interact with my Barons all the time, and they are fantastic. They're awesome. They're super inquisitive. They're always going around the cage. You just stuck in a couple mice and called it a freaking day.
Yeah, that's keeping rhinos, except it's better.
No.
3 points for rhinos right there.
Mm-mm.
I don't know. How was
Disagree.
working in the sort of, would you call that the professional sector?
Yeah, I guess.
This is how did you learn a lot there that you took to your own collection?
Not well. It's hard to say because I worked with a lot of venomous stuff when I was at the zoo.
Mhm.
That was really my section was tropical and half of desert, so I was responsible for mambas,
Dude,
king cobras, puff adders.
there was one
Phew.
puff adder that was like the best puff adder I've ever seen in my life. I don't
think
know
I know
if it's
which
still
one you're
there.
talking about.
Yeah, I don't know.
The
Oh
big
my
yellow
God.
one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it was very big when I was there and I took pictures of it, but dude, I don't think I've seen a puff adder that would look like it.
It was almost like hypomelanistic. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. It's freaking incredible.
Yeah, those snakes are wild. So there was some stuff. Like we were talking about earlier, disinfectant protocols. They hammered that home, especially zoo staff. So that changed my perspective on that.
Mhm.
And then I feel like I was able to bring, some of the stuff from the private sector into the zoo sector as well. Equipment advances, thermostat advances, because
Yeah.
there's a lot that advances on our side, that zoos can take it, capitalize on. So I thought it was, both ways it worked really well.
Do you
Nice.
think both sides of that underutilize each other? And do you think that'll ever change?
In some aspects, it's a downright, looking down your nose at our side.
Mhm.
Not everybody, and that's I'm not saying that it's like that everywhere, but there are aspects of that, and I think we would be better off working side by side, especially as we see more animal legislation come and to have zoos on our side as to back us up. The stuff we're doing is important. You look at guys keeping water snakes or brony or whatever it ends up being. There's so many people specialized in so many things on our side that we have a lot to offer as well. So yeah, it would be great to see it. Like Colette Adams, works really closely with us in US ARC and all those things. So I'm not, certainly not sitting here saying that it's just one way, but it would be better if we were all working together a little bit more.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially because like I know zoos are on like kind of their own playing field, but you're also a captive keeper.
Same thing.
I don't really want to hear it. Like I get it. You're an accredited zoo. You're an AZA. Like, okay, that's cool. But you also keep snakes in boxes. Don't judge me.
Right.
Like,
and a backup space at a zoo looks just like this.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's about, and zoos can't do everything that the private sector can. They don't have the resources available. They don't have the staff. They don't have the space. There are plenty of people that just work with one thing, and they're the best in the world at it. And, they're in the private sector. So, hopefully that crossover can grow, as time progresses. So, but we'll see. It was interesting being on both sides of it. And I think in reptile departments, it's a little bit more, there's a little bit more give and take there.
Yeah.
Just because a lot of the reptile keepers have come from keeping stuff at home or working in a pet shop. Like you can't just go like work with like tigers,
right?
Or buy one in your house, So
right.
It's a little bit different there. There's a lot of moving parts at play, but it would be great to have everybody on the same team.
Yeah, that's kind of the that'd be the dream.
Is it a similar thing with like the bird community?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a divide there.
I would imagine there's some crossover too.
Yeah, and there's definitely some crossover. I think one of the old bird keepers there, he went and did his own thing too, kind of like I did. After a while, he started, breeding birds for himself, and so yeah, there's definitely some crossover there.
Yeah.
Is there any?
Go ahead.
I
mean, it was a great experience. The amount of things I got to work with was pretty awesome because you don't have to like I gotta, order food and pay the food bill and pay the electricity. But now you're just in there, you're just taking care of
Right.
animals. That's it. You don't have to worry about the rest of that. That comes with what I do now.
So with doing that though, did you have your own personal collection of snakes? And I'm assuming you did. And did you ever did it become kind of like a
Take
job
work
away
home.
from your job, like
Yeah.
kind of taking home work kind of thing? Like, did it suck to have to clean snakes all day for your job to get paid just to come home to clean more snakes? Like, did that ever get tiring?
Not really, because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
Even when I was in college, I was, home taking care of snakes after going to class
Okay.
and doing all those things. And so I always had my place, like being in my
Right.
snake room for me was a way to wind down,
Mm-hmm.
even when I was at the zoo, because it's just so different,
Right.
interacting with guests or you're planting an exhibit or whatever you're doing. It's just completely different than when you get into your snake room. It's like,
I'm home.
No kids running around tapping on glass.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I've just heard a lot of people, that say they either work at a zoo or a reptile shop, It's like I'm doing work at home, but now I'm not really getting paid for it, and it kind of tires them out, type of deal, So I like to ask people that when they've worked in the zoo field before.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I can see that happening, and I think part of it for me was I always wanted to work for myself, so it's just like I got to keep pushing on and keep pushing on and keep pushing on and keeping that goal,
nice
out ahead of me. So
yeah,
because that's really what it boils down to. I think in this business is just the ability to just keep going.
Yeah, you got to stay motivated, man.
Yeah.
And that's why we push working with what keeps you happy more than anything, man. Because if you can't keep yourself happy, your animals aren't going to be happy, and you're going to worn out.
Exactly.
Got to work with the
keep
stuff
what you like. You never get bored.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I have parents and not rhinos.
Not everyone's cut out for them. So
yeah.
Is there any new news on the legislation that was floating around South Carolina a while back?
So they did write an article. They put it on the South Carolina DNR website or on the Facebook page.
Yeah, that was the one with the Burmese python, the albino. The
that beautiful albino Burmese python staged under those live oaks. Yeah, that one.
Oh my God, I didn't see that. Are you kidding me?
No.
And oh my God!
Like, don't release your pets.
And so, yeah, I expect this legislative season that we're going to see some stuff. So everybody needs to, in South Carolina, stay on your toes. We're going to need to come together, regardless of what it ends up being. But I think if I was a betting man, venomous is going to come up again, and possibly big snakes. Because if you watch what Florida and Georgia do, we fall right in line. We know right now that all these heads of DNR agencies, all the way from Oklahoma to, is it St. Croix, are all working together. So we're going to see all the same stuff. So watching what happens in Florida, tegus are gone from Florida to North Carolina. Black and white tegus are gone.
Wow.
So, Georgia's going to do it too. And they'll be gone there. And Burmese pythons are going to be the same way. So, we're going to really need to come together as a state, and because we're going to see it this legislative session. I bet my job on it. It's just this is just the way these things are going to go from now on, especially in the Southeast with Florida driving all of this.
Yeah,
right.
In Florida, FWC is completely disregarding everything that keepers are trying to come to the table with and work with them on, and they do not care.
Yeah, they just passed some legislation where Tyler Brooks lives, in I think maybe not on the state level, but definitely in the local level as far as keeping diamondback terrapins.
Yeah,
and they had people there that were like basically saying what we're doing and breeding privately has zero bearing on wild populations, and it's like
And they were poachers.
They presented plenty of valid arguments, and it just went in one ear and out the other. And it's like,
And
what's the point
that's
of having
what sucks.
legislative processes and like these hearings and stuff if your mind is already made up? You know?
Well, see, the thing about with Florida is the FWC doesn't only answers to the governor, but they can write their own laws. So what you know, even if they give lip service to people for show, they're going to do what they want to do, you know, until, I don't know. I mean, Florida's in a really tough spot, and they're fighting really hard. You know, USARK Florida is, if it wasn't for them, Florida would be even worse.
Oh, yeah.
It would be even worse, you know. So, but yeah, I expect, you know, come January or February, we're going to hear some stuff if they don't try and sneak it in last minute like they did with the last venomous animal bill that we were able to squash. So we'll see. But I expect it. I really do.
Yeah, I feel like on our front, Smitty, we need to be doing a little bit more for our state and be going to these meetings and stuff and actually try and, you know, even though it's always a small number,
they purposefully schedule them in like the worst times.
Yeah,
so they know people like 9 a.m. on a Tuesday.
We all have jobs.
Yep.
You know, like you can't just leave work and.
You know, what's been one of the things that came out of the pandemic that was nice was, you know, Zoom meetings and those kinds of things where, you know, if we can schedule those things, we can get more people to show up. But again, they don't want people to show up.
Yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, just keep your ears out. You know, even if you share posts, you write letters, you write emails, you make phone calls, that takes no time out of your day and doesn't take you from your job either. You know, so
absolutely
those things are easy to do, and, you know, stay with, you know, up to date on USARK stuff. And that's the best way to do it, because we're pretty sure that this is gonna show its head again, especially after that DNR post. So
yeah, with South Carolina kind of sitting, you know, right there with Georgia and having its weird laws about not keeping corn snakes, you know, and Florida being a super strict state on everything at this point, you know, I've just kind of been waiting for the hammer to drop with South Carolina. And it's bad because, like, I know there's things that we can improve on. I don't think there's any reason you should be able to walk into a Repticon Columbia and show your ID that says you're 18 and be able to buy a freaking mamba or a puff adder or whatever. Like, I don't think that's okay at all.
Right.
You know, so there's definitely ways we could improve, but
absolutely,
I feel
without a ban.
Yeah, you know, like there's absolutely ways we could improve without a ban, but you know, I feel like it's going to be one extreme or the other. Like right now, all you have to be is 18. You can go home with a puff adder, but then it's going to be nobody can have them at all ever. You know,
exactly.
So then it's give us something. You know, like we can work with you, but you kind of have to work with us, but that's just not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, we went to the table with them a few times, and you know, hopefully, you know, we can mend those relationships a little bit. We'll see. But again, it's like we're willing to come to the table all the time with concessions, you know, a permit system or whatever it ends up being, whatever it takes to make you feel better and us to be able to continue doing what we're doing. Like you said, like if you live in, you know, North Carolina and you drive down here and buy a puff adder and something happens to you, it does not look good for the state of South Carolina. And I understand that 100%.
Yeah.
But
that's also why a lot of these places, like, at least be required to show a South Carolina ID, you know, like, so we know somebody from North Carolina isn't driving down here just to get a snake that's illegal in their state, you know, show an ID. It's very, very simple. It's very easy. You know, like right now it's literally sign a form and you're going home with a rattlesnake.
Right.
You know, like I don't know.
I think there's a lot of self-improvement on our end that we're willing to come to the table with, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And I saw that draft that was written up to bring to them, and it was all completely like that's pretty much exactly reasonable. What I would want. Yeah. And you would think that a group who says, look, we're gonna come up with something. We're going to bring it to you. I would hope that at least has some merit. Like
Right.
that would be like, wow, like look, these people actually put some effort into this, and like, you know, they're trying to work with us instead of just completely both sides, you know, shutting
Right.
the door in the other's face. And
just holding your
I don't know,
ground.
you would hope so, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like I said, I feel like so many of these decisions are made long before they want to even hear the opinions of what it is. It's just semantics at that point.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they do it because they have to. Otherwise, they would just flat out pass it without even a second thought. So
yeah,
it's really
but
frustrating.
Whatever we hear, we'll just we'll stay in touch throughout the whole thing and see how this year shakes out.
Yeah.
But what amazes me still, and I thought about this like a week or two ago. How is it that USARC has not put together like a text where you sign up for text and an alert shows up for anywhere?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everyone's already on their phones. They get a text message that says alert such and such county, such and such state with a link. Like I don't know. That's not an expensive thing to do. Like they do it at the cigar shop that I worked at. Like Food Lion and Publix and CVS and like all these grocery stores and drugstores have that. Like surely, like that to me seems like the most effective and most cost-effective way to make sure people are knowing about these things. Because I know stuff, like there's some things that I do see sort of in real time, and then there's things that I don't see for a week because I'm not on Facebook as much as I was, and so it's like I can't really stay in the loop if I'm just not glued to my phone all the time. But if I get a text message from USARC saying alert with a link, I'm going to be much more apt to actually see that and at least read it and be cognizant of it.
That's a great idea. Yeah. I mean, it's a phenomenal idea. I don't have the answer.
You know, like you can only Facebook and Instagram are, you know, good tools for getting that information out, but just with the way that they're presenting information now, like with the algorithms and whatnot, and how that's constantly changing, you can miss stuff. Absolutely.
Because not 9 times out of 10, there's people on Instagram and Facebook that have, you know, hundreds on hundreds of, you know, people that they follow, you know, and you scroll for 5 minutes, you're not going to see everybody's.
Yeah.
You know, like
you get that ding with that text message. Oh, what is it? No. Oh, USARC, an alert in Florida.
Yeah. No, that would be.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, fire them off an email. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
You know, let them know. Like, I use this in my cigar shop or the cigar shop I work at, and this is how the program works. Could we do something like this?
Mm-hmm. And you can set it up to where it's like, you know, the amount of like the number of texts you send out, I guess, in a certain period, or like you're not gonna be blowing people's phones up constantly all day or anything like that. But it's like when I think what was one that just dropped within the last couple of days? Was that New York? Yeah. It's like pop out a text.
Right. Because there's a ton of keepers there.
Everyone would sign up for that text message list.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good idea. Yeah. Shoot them a message. I think
surely they've thought about it. I would think, because to me, it just seems like a no-brainer since so many businesses and companies are doing it now. But I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. It can't hurt just to be like, you know, we were talking about this and we think this would be an effective way to reach people.
Yeah.
You know, the worst thing that could happen is they just ignore you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Worth a shot for sure.
So you're getting other projects wise. I saw some leopard geckos.
Yeah, well, I started to dive into leopard geckos a little bit. You know, just to have again, I think this is a good segue into why. It's, you know, could you have a better reptile pet? And so when I got into them, it was this is a great pet, and because I want to do a really good pet species, and for me, you know, leopard geckos were that, you know, something different, a completely different customer base, that kind of thing, and I mean, they're awesome. Like I'm having so much fun with it, you know. So I've met some really great breeders, and they're just beautiful little lizards. You know, they're a lot of fun. So, you know, that's
and as far as like sales and stuff, since you're doing it full time now, are you doing a lot of shows, or is it almost entirely through internet?
Yeah, I don't actually go to shows. So I do all internet stuff. And the reason being, Repticon, not doing. It's just there's no quality control.
Not really your customer base either. So.
No, certainly not. So, and then a bigger picture for me is and this is just me. This isn't me talking bad about shows or people that do shows or anything. So it's not that. It's just a biosecurity issue for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if I take a group of blood pythons to a show and they don't do great because, again, the customer base isn't there, it's easier for me to reach those people online. I got to put them in quarantine for 90 days before I can sell that group of snakes again.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it correctly, right? And so it's just like, is that worth it for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I did go to Daytona 2 years ago. I just went for fun. I mean, it's a great time to, they're fun. Like, we were in Daytona this year, weren't you?
Dude, you got to come. Mm-hmm. We go every year, man. You got to come next year. We can all hang out.
I went 2 years ago and had a good time. But just to do shows, from my perspective, it's just I can't. It's too much.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense, and I'm much more cognizant now of like the biosecurity aspect of shows, and
that's a big one.
After talking to Pia and Cody as much as we have over the years, it really opened my eyes to that kind of thing, and now you walk around and you see people wanting to handle snakes at tables, and then go to another table and handle some more snakes, and you're just like looking at it like, oh my God.
I mean, realistically, if you do shows, you have to quarantine everything you bring to that show.
While you were out there
every time.
Leak.
Sorry, yeah.
He's like, that's why he doesn't do them.
Yeah,
because he has to quarantine stuff for 3 months after he comes back.
Yeah, and I just for me, it's not worth the hassle. And again, like that's just a personal thing. It's not me saying one way or the other. It's just. And I think it's also because I work with blood pythons. They're a little more specialized. They're not as popular. So just going to shows, unless I did something big like Tinley Park.
Right.
So, which I've thought about.
Seem much more up, your avenue.
Right.
So,
which I've thought about. And it, I haven't ruled it out completely. So it's just, for right now, I'm not, I haven't vended a reptile show in about 11 years.
Right. I think personally, and now this is just my grand idea with it. If I ever wanted to start vending a show, like it would be one show, more than likely Daytona. And then ideally, and again, this isn't a perfect world, I would have my own room of stuff that is for sale. It is always for sale. And it stays in that room only, and all those animals get brought to a show. Then they go back into that room, separate from all my breeding stock and anything else. Like in a perfect world, that would be the most ideal. Because bring them back, do a mite treatment, whatever, just to be on the safe side.
Yep.
Keep rocking and rolling. Like,
there's some people that just wholesale whatever they have left at Daytona. They don't even take anything back.
There's a ton of people that do that.
Makes sense.
Which is another option.
Yeah. But again, then there's no online sales, and that can cut your margins severely.
Right.
So
exactly. So it's but Daytona's a blast. I loved going to that show back in the day, and I remember the venomous section, and it's a fun show.
Well, that's gone now. There's no venomous.
Oh yeah, no. That was a long time ago.
You got to go to Columbia Repticon for that. Lord knows what you're gonna get from that. Man, I quarantined the wood I got from Columbia the last time we went.
That was probably a good idea.
Yeah, no, that bitch stayed in the freezer for like 3 weeks after I got it. I was like, no, this is gonna sit in here with the rodents in the frozen section for a while. Yeah, man, I got home from Columbia because we went to the last show because we met up with a buddy because we were doing some trades, and I wanted to get some cork bark, so we rode out there, and yeah, man, as soon as I got home, I literally stripped naked in my house and put all my clothes in the washer as soon as I walked in, put them in the wash. But he's like, dude, you're being paranoid. I'm like, well, I've dealt with mites in my entire collection before, and I'm not doing that again.
Right.
So, it is absolutely terrible. So no, I don't care.
Right
I
call.
don't care.
Right call
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm saying, man, those things will jump off a deli cup.
Yeah.
I'm not
They're not
doing
fleas.
it. Not doing it.
They get
I don't
sucked up
care.
into the air conditioning units,
Yeah.
blown all around.
Yeah, it's just they're circling in the air.
It's
No.
you know, when I was at the zoo, I did the same thing. Like I had a separate pair of shoes for my collection and what I would
Yep.
wear to work and all that stuff. So
Yeah. How bad would you feel if you ended up taking something to one or the other?
Horrible.
Yeah. No, that would suck. Yeah, no. I threw my clothes in the washer and I took a shower as soon as I walked in the door. That was my nope, no chances. This might be extra, but I ain't doing it.
Make fun of me all you want, but I'm clean.
Yeah, exactly. My snakes are gonna be clean too. Damn it.
I'll be laughing when you have to tear apart all your enclosures and spray everything down for mites 3 times a week for the next.
Yeah.
Rest of your life.
Yeah, Jesus.
Have fun putting that fire out, buddy.
Yeah, man. I remember the last time I dealt with it. It was a freaking nightmare, and I probably have double the snakes I have now.
I haven't had to deal with it in a long time. Knock on wood.
Yeah, you knock on that wood. Yeah, man, it was not fun. Because as soon as you think you have a handle on them,
they're back.
1 month later, they're all back. Because that's the thing, they're funny, man. You'll think they're gone. You'll be solid. A month will go by.
Foot off the gas.
Yeah, a month will go by. Everything seems fine. All of a sudden, one of them is just swarmed.
Yeah,
just like that. You know, overnight.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere, and then you're just screwed.
Exponential.
Yeah, they're horrible.
Yeah.
So
I hate those
it's not worth it.
You only have to deal with a really bad outbreak of those once to never want to have to do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
The last outbreak I had a couple years ago was the worst I've ever had, and it was like,
I think I'll take the extra 2 minutes and just go ahead and pre-treat stuff when it comes in.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
Just make it part of your.
Just make it part of your quarantine protocol.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If you do it in quarantine, if there's nothing visible on it, it can be minimal, you know, like I only my treatments now. I use a spray. It used to be Frontline. I had to switch something different. Thanks to Smitty, he found it. If it's minimal, you can spray it on a paper towel, let them sit on that paper towel. You'll probably be good to go. If it's bad, you got to put it straight on the snake, and that's more intrusive. It's not. It can be detrimental. It's riskier. It can be detrimental if you don't know exactly what you're doing. You don't do it right.
Just spraying them down with poisons, no big deal.
Yeah, no, not a big deal at all. I'm just spraying them with
in battery acid.
Yeah. So, but you know, if you do it right off the rip, all it takes is a paper towel, a couple treatments, good to go.
Good to go.
Yep. No problems, you know. But if you wait till it gets bad and you got a bigger problem on your hands, you got to be more direct to really take care of it. It's not fun.
Nope.
It's not fun at all.
Yeah, that's why, quarantine protocol is important.
Yeah. Big time. Big time. You'll learn that one time, and that's all it's going to take.
Once.
All it's going to take. You'll either not get any new snakes or you're going to have a quarantine area. I went through a period where I didn't get any snakes because I had no quarantine space. I take that back. I got from my most trusted source, who would never screw me over.
This guy?
Yeah, my buddy. No, not this guy. I wouldn't trust him for shit. No, but I got
Give
from
me my corn snakes back, bitch.
No, they're mine and they're amazing. Speaking of, dude, those 2 babies. Oh my god.
Shut up.
Those 2 females I got from you this year.
Don't make me regret it.
You're gonna regret it
Send me
next time
pictures.
you see them. I need to pull them out. I normally let them be because they're assholes, dude.
You're welcome.
They just want blood. They're just smallest snakes in my collection. They just death and destruction. But yeah, they're great. Turning out.
They just want to bite. They want to bite me all the time.
Yeah,
Great.
no, but I'm
awesome.
fine. I'm fine with bitey snakes. I dealt with hatchling carpets. I can deal with a corn snake. Unlike you squealing over there anytime a corn snake wants to take a little nibble on your finger.
Yep.
No, bitey snakes are my jam.
That's it.
To an extent. That's why I need bloods again. Just kidding.
That's what I'm saying. We'll get you there. We'll get you there.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. If I saw the
Slippery
right
slope.
pair, if I saw the right pair of Borneos, I'd be like, I gotta have them.
Yeah.
Gotta have them.
They're cool.
Yeah, especially now that you tell me they're okay at like an 86 hotspot. Like,
Yeah, that's what I do.
I can do that. My room's a little warmer now. I do keep my room at about 79, 80.
You can always put them on the bottom.
There you go. That's a good point.
It's always solutions, man.
Or just get an Aggie cage and run your room ambient.
Well, that's the thing. I run ambient now for my colubrids, but I still keep my carpets on a hot spot. So my ambient say around 79, 80. The carpets have a hot spot of about 85. And the colubrids just run ambient and they're perfect. So that's doing fine for what I have. I don't love it for the carpets, but they're doing okay. Makes it a little easier for all the colubrids I have. I can just stack stuff around the room.
It works. It works.
Yeah, it works. So I'm a little my options for other stuff are a little limited at the moment. I feel like Bloods would not love that setup. So I don't know. See. Take
Worth
a
exploring.
Yeah. Yeah, worth a shot. Just may as well try.
You don't know until you try.
That's it. We'll give it a go.
Give it a
Nick
go.
says you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
Oh, well, where can people get a hold of you, man?
Yeah.
On Facebook, Instagram, Cold Blooded Earth. My website's coldbloodedearth.com. That's about it.
Nice, man. Yeah, definitely check out his website. If you want to see some really awesome Bloods, Borneos.
That'll bring a tear to your eye.
Yeah. If you're not into Bloods, or you've been on the spectrum of keeping them, definitely go to his website, his Instagram page. You'll be sold.
On
You'll
the
be
fence?
sold. Yeah. You'll be sold, man.
I don't think anyone's on the spectrum with Bloods, but
on the spectrum, on the fence, whatever. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I'm on the spectrum. I'm on the spectrum, so leave me alone. Okay?
no comment.
All I'm saying is if you keep more intense snakes, you're on the spectrum, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Caseyism.
No, that's a Ryan Cox saying. That's a full belief by Ryan Cox.
70% of statistics are made up.
Like that one.
Well,
man.
This show is brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram, BlackBoxCages.com. And SteveSnaketuary.com. Also on Facebook and Instagram. Get yourself some Venom hot sauce. You will not regret it. It's getting colder this time of year. And this hot sauce will warm you up.
Real well.
Get some.
Real well. Nick, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. This has
really
been,
enjoyed it. Man.
Yeah, this has been a blast. I don't think I've laughed so much on an episode in a while. So this is
the Coors Light.
That's not the Coors. Don't talk about my Coors, man. Why do I tell everybody I'm drinking Coors?
He's all giggly because he's riding the silver bullet.
No.
But thanks a lot, guys. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, man.
Hopefully we can do this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely like to check in with our guests every now and then, and bring them back on. Get
South
updates
Carolina
and all
peeps
that.
get priority.
Yeah, absolutely. And me and Justin might have to. So you're outside of Columbia.
Yeah, I'm just south of Columbia, so you guys should make a trip up sometime.
Yeah, man. I would love to. I love seeing collections. Last person I went and saw like the personal collection was Chris Montross all the way in Alabama. And I was talking to him, and he was like, "This is how it used to be."
Right.
Like if you wanted stuff, you wanted to
join a cult,
you wanted to,
you had to go to the leader.
No, but
ask him yourself.
He was like, this is how. If you wanted to see what somebody had available, see their collection, you had to go there. There was none of this instant messaging. I could send you a million fucking pictures. Whatever. Like we used to do visits and actually go see people.
Horse and carriage.
But that's almost non-existent nowadays, and I really want to try and like get out to actually see people face to face, see their collections. Obviously, I know biosecurity is a thing. We will shower before we come there. But
yeah, maybe I might be a little paranoid, but
yeah,
I'll just show up naked.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I know.
Get some of those sandy cloth wipes.
No.
Just tea leaf.
Be fine.
Somebody be walking up in there looking like George of the Jungle coming in.
If George of the Jungle was played by Jack Black,
Yeah, pretty
the
much.
sight to be seen.
It's like Jack Black and a Sasquatch had a baby and it was ugly.
It is what it is.
man.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Got
We will be back Monday for Snakes and Stogies, the last episode of the year for the network. Minus Bill. I think Bill has something lined up for the end of the month, maybe.
No, are we not doing THP next week?
I don't know. We're doing our last episode is the 12th.
We should do a one-on-one next week.
Okay. So Snakes and Stogies, and then that, and then the 12th.
That.
We're going to be doing our announcing our people of the year
We have to
for all the shows. We've
Are we doing that before the new year?
we're doing that the 12th. It's going to be the last episode of the year.
Oh.
So we have all our people picked for each show. I think Bill still has to put in his.
So we
pick.
have to specify. We have a person for each show, and then we're gonna have a network person,
which we all five of us unanimously agreed on.
Yes.
So Cornstars has a person, Snakes and Stogies has a person, THP has a person, Lizard Brain Radio is going to have a person, and then there's the THN person. And
who will reign above all of them?
That's right.
No, just kidding. Don't get cocky. It's on this day. Just kidding.
What?
I don't know.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all later.